The only thing you genuinely control is your point of view, how you react to anything, your interpretation, and the story you tell yourself. Nothing on the outside can harm you unless it connects with something unresolved within. Initially, this might sound like a tired cliché you'd find on a motivational poster, but it's a profound truth backed by both ancient philosophy and modern psychology. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. In essence, it's not the event that troubles us, but our perspective of it. We can't manage other people or circumstances, but we can manage the meaning we attach to them. Consider this. Someone calls you a nasty name. On its own, it's just noise, a collection of words. But once those words enter your mind, you begin to interpret. If a stranger shouted, "You're a purple-spotted giraffe," you'd probably just laugh it off or ignore it. It's absurd. You know it's untrue, so it holds no power over you. But if someone says you're not good enough or you're stupid, it might hit differently. Why? Because a part of you fears it might be true. The insult only hurts if it touches on a hidden insecurity inside you, finding a crack in an old wound. Without that internal wound, the same insult would simply bounce off. There is a powerful saying, "None can destroy iron, but its own rust can." Similarly, nothing can destroy a person but their own mindset. Think about that. Iron is incredibly strong against external pressure, yet it weakens and eventually crumbles when rust eats away at it from within. Life will inevitably send rejection, insults, and failure our way. But the real harm only occurs when we allow our own doubts and unhealed wounds to corrode us from the inside. An insult can't break you unless you believe it. A failure can't define you unless you internalize it. Your mindset is the rust. If left unchecked, it will weaken you. But if you keep it clear, external attacks will just harmlessly bounce off. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." In other words, our strong emotional reactions are like mirrors. When someone or something deeply triggers you, it's usually reflecting a part of yourself, a hidden fear, an insecurity, or an old wound. Perhaps you become enraged when someone talks over you. Could it be because you've spent years feeling unheard or dismissed? Maybe a small criticism at work completely crushes you. Why? Because deep down, you question your own worth, and that comment struck a nerve you haven't fully healed. These triggers point to what Jung called the shadow, the hidden aspects of ourselves we often try to avoid. I recall a time a friend jokingly said, "You always screw things up." They laughed, but my chest tightened, my face flushed, and I felt hurt and defensive. Why did it sting so much? I later realized it wasn't just the joke, it was what it unearthed within me. Growing up, I had lived under pressure to be perfect and had internalized a deep fear of failure. My friend's words hurt because, in that moment, I feared they might be true. That moment led me inward. I asked myself, do I really always screw things up? The answer was no. I started acknowledging my successes, forgiving my mistakes, and speaking to myself with more kindness. Over time, that wound began to heal. Today, if someone says something similar, it doesn't faze me. I either accept the feedback if it's constructive or let it go if it's not. But I don't crumble, because the wound those words once hit no longer holds power over me. That's the essence of shadow work, shining a light on the painful hidden parts of yourself so they stop controlling your life. It's not easy, but it is incredibly liberating. The more you heal your inner wounds, the fewer buttons the outside world has to push. You react less, not because you've become numb, but because there's simply less pain left inside to stir up. Even if you haven't delved into deep psychological work, you can begin applying this truth right now by changing how you respond. You can't control that initial flash of emotion. You're human. But you can control what happens next. This is where Viktor Frankl's wisdom comes in. A Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, he said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." What does this mean? It means that no matter what life throws at you, there's a brief, split-second moment where you get to decide how to interpret it and how to act. Someone sends you a rude message. That's the stimulus. Your heart races, anger flares. That's the natural emotional surge. But then comes the space, your chance to pause and ask, is this about me or about them? You get to decide. Will I lash out, let this ruin my day, or will I let it go? That space is where your power resides. It's where your growth begins. You can choose to treat an insult as mere noise. You can view a setback as a challenge instead of a failure. This ability to choose your response is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Over time, you'll find that external events lose their ability to emotionally yank you around without your permission. And science supports this. When something upsets you, your body reacts before your mind can fully process it. Your brain's alarm system, the amygdala, fires off as if you're in danger. That's why your heart races, your fists clench, or your voice shakes when someone provokes you. Psychologists call this an amygdala hijack. Your emotional brain takes control, shutting down your ability to think rationally. This is why we say or do things in the heat of the moment that we later regret. We were quite literally hijacked by our biology. But here's the encouraging part. We can train this response by practicing the pause. Frankl's space. Taking a slow, intentional breath activates your frontal lobe, the rational part of your brain, and helps you reclaim control. It sends a message to your body. This isn't danger. This is discomfort. I am safe. With practice, your nervous system adapts. You begin to recognize that a rude comment isn't life-threatening, and a rejection isn't the end of you. The more you affirm this truth, the less reactive you become. Your brain literally rewires itself. What once felt like a threat starts to feel manageable, or even irrelevant. This is emotional resilience. It's not about being cold or indifferent. It's about staying grounded enough to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. And every time you make that choice, you're building a life with more clarity, more freedom, and more peace. Studies have shown that emotional pain, like rejection or harsh words, activates the same areas of the brain as physical pain. So when we say words hurt, it's not just a metaphor. The brain processes emotional wounds, much like physical ones. No wonder they cut so deeply. But here's the key difference. While physical pain often stems from things outside our control, emotional pain has a strong mental component. It's like psychological judo. You can't stop someone from throwing a punch or an insult. But you can internally step aside so it doesn't land where it hurts. Once you master your perception, you start to cushion your inner world. Life will still throw its slings and arrows, but they bounce off more easily. You still feel the initial impact, but you get to decide what it means. Is it a catastrophe or just discomfort? You choose. Let's make that real. Say you're stuck in traffic, running late for something important. Most people would get tense, curse their luck, and spiral into frustration. The traffic itself is completely out of your control, but your experience of it is entirely up to you. You can stew in anger, or you can accept, I'll get there when I get there, and maybe listen to something calming. The situation doesn't change, but your peace of mind does, based entirely on how you choose to interpret it. Or imagine texting a friend and hearing nothing back for hours. One story might be, they're ignoring me, they don't care, leading to feelings of rejection. But another interpretation could be, they're probably busy or dealing with something. I'll give it time. Same external reality, no response, but your story determines whether you feel hurt or stay at ease. Our perceptions shape our emotional reality. They are that powerful. Now, mastering this truth doesn't mean you'll never feel anger, sadness, or disappointment again. Of course you will. You're human, and it's okay to feel those things. Being emotionally strong isn't about becoming numb. It's about being steady. It's knowing how to stay centered, even when emotions arise. You feel the anger, you name the disappointment, but you don't spiral or lash out. You pause, you reflect, and you respond with intention. You might say, "That was disrespectful, and it hurt," or "I'm upset because I had high hopes." Then, instead of drowning in the emotion, you let it pass or turn it into something useful. That's what it means to hold your center, to have emotional antibodies. The sting is still there, but you recover faster, and it no longer leaves a scar. Something else changes too. You begin to see people differently. When someone is rude or cruel, you don't automatically take it personally. You recognize it's often more about them than it is about you. You know who you are, and their words only hurt if they echo a doubt you still carry. If that doubt is gone, their comment has nowhere to land. You might even feel compassion for them, recognizing that hurt people often hurt others. Once you're no longer stuck defending your ego, you can respond with calm, even kindness. You might think, "They must be having a hard time to act out like that," instead of internalizing their behavior. This mindset shields your peace and softens conflict. So how do you build this in your daily life? It starts with awareness. The next time you feel a trigger, anger, rejection, anxiety, pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself, this feeling is coming from how I'm interpreting this. Ask, what story am I telling myself? What old wound is this touching? That single moment of reflection is enough to stop the chain reaction. From there, choose your response intentionally. Maybe it's as simple as saying, "I'm not taking this personally," or "What can I learn here?" The more you practice this, the more your emotional resilience grows. It's not that life gets easier. You get stronger. You train your mind to see differently, and in doing so, you transform how deeply anything can shake you. At the end of the day, remember this: no one and nothing can make you feel inferior, angry, or hurt without your consent. That consent is given by your own mind in how you perceive the event. And you can revoke that consent whenever you choose. When you realize you're the one who decides what enters your mind and heart, it's like having an invisible shield that keeps negativity from getting in. You become untouchable in the truest sense. By facing them with grounded strength and deep inner wisdom, disappointments don't devastate you. They just remind you to realign and keep moving forward. You don't live at the mercy of others' opinions or uncontrollable events. You live guided by your own principles and peace. That is the outcome of mastering this one truth about perception. You are in control of the meaning you give to everything. That is your power, one that can never be taken from you. So, starting now, practice owning that power and stop adding unnecessary suffering. As the Stoics would say, you can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. And once you've mastered adjusting your inner sails, nothing can affect you anymore.